Welcome to the Business Behind Fundraising podcast, where you'll discover how to raise the kind of money your big vision requires without adding more events, appeals, or grant applications. Learn how to stop blocking overall revenue growth and start attracting investment-level donors with Sherry Quam Taylor.
Hey guys, Sherry here. I'm so excited to have Bofta Yimam on my podcast today. Bofta and I met through a coach that we both love and adore. And you know how you meet somebody and you're like, I hope they like me back because I want to be their friend. That's Bofta. She is fancy in many ways. The first time I met her, my coach said, "Hey, Bofta, lean over a little bit to the left or right." And there was a Emmy on her back shelf. Bofta is the first Ethiopian American newscaster to receive an Emmy. She has reported she's a journalist. She's reported all over, CBS, BBC, Euronews, all these things. She's been all over. You may see her and be like, hey, I kind of recognize her. But today she owns an organization or a company that really helps CEOs leap into visibility, tell their story, learn how to use their story to really captivate an audience, really build that authority and that thought leadership. And so she runs a full service marketing agency. She specifically is talking a lot today about LinkedIn. And if you know me, I'm on LinkedIn. And so you'll see me comment even on her stuff on LinkedIn. But here's what I want you to really hear today. If you are a nonprofit leader and you're like, oh, it's on my list to be more visible, to do more thought leadership, to kind of move from the grind of everything and into attracting donors, attracting partners, attracting board members, this is the episode I want you to hear. Bofta does this, LinkedIn writing and other services for my clients, for many of my clients, just because I've said, hey, you have an amazing story to tell, and I actually think it's a huge part of your growth. You need to talk to Bofta. And I continue to refer her because of the results my clients have seen. So enjoy the conversation. She's super fun. And I'll talk to you next time. Bofta, it's so good to have you on my podcast.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you, Sherry, for inviting me. I'm so excited about this topic.
So good. So good. So, I always love meeting people in person who I've known we've known each other for a couple of years now, but then we got to meet each other in person here. When was that? In the spring?
Yeah.
And you were everything that I wanted you to be when I met you in person. I was like, I knew you were like all the warm and good and wonderfulness remotely on Zoom because we share a coach. But when I met you in person, I was like, I wonder if she would be on my podcast. And so here we are.
Here we are. Yes, I am here. Yes. I'm so excited.
Good. Okay, so let's dive right in. I think what I always was kind of hanging on, or I guess I was always kind of hanging on every word you were saying, even when you were articulating challenges that your clients were having and just in our coaching program that we were in together. And I thought, gosh, this is the exact problem that I see, or challenge, I'll say, a lot of my own clients have. And so I'd love to just set the stage on the work and just really what you're an expert at. I might want to ask you though, because you have some fancy accolades behind your name and all those good things. I probably should ask you just to give me the what has brought Bofta to this journey and just your expertise.
How much time do we have?
I'm going to actually, yeah, as long or as short as you want.
It's been a journey. Let me tell you, Sherry, it has been a journey. Nothing I would say, that I expected, right? Meaning I didn't expect to be an entrepreneur diving into this in my mid-30s, deciding to take a whole nother lane, so to speak. But the short version is, I worked as an anchor and reporter for more than a decade. I was that typical nomadic reporter going every couple of years to the next best opportunity with, my furniture that was probably from Walmart, just something light and easy that I could pack up, right? Take to the next place. I was making pennies and, just moved my way up like many other journalists in the industry. And at the same time, about midway through that career, that decade, I started to feel this pull to do something else. And I started to see myself on stages. I wanted to travel, have more freedom, more impact. And I just started to feel like I was playing small. And I think a
Mm,
lot of us who have created our own lane know that feeling. I don't have to describe it for your audience because they're all
right.
change makers, right? And I started just to think, I think there's something more for me. And I think God has given me more. And am I really using all of the gifts and talents that I've been given?
Mm,
And it's funny because a lot of people will say, well, you're in a studio. You finally kind of moved your way up in the industry. You're not making pennies anymore. And you're looking at this audience. You're telling great stories. You're reaching thousands of people. And you still, Bofta, feel you need to pivot. And let me tell you, I felt a little frustrated myself because I was looking up at God
yeah.
and saying, really, you're going to do this to me? You're planning another vision when I'm finally feeling a little bit comfortable. And
Yeah.
so I had to do what many of us have had to do when we have a vision for ourselves and we don't exactly have a model for how to do it. We stumble, right? We figure it out along the way. And I've learned a ton in this journey of becoming an entrepreneur and running my own factional marketing agency. But I really wanted to weave storytelling inside of what I was doing next, and I didn't quite know how I
Mm,
was going to do that. And so, right, figured it out, and now moving in that direction. And since that time, I've been blessed to be able to speak on stages in London and Africa and across the U.S. and while building, that fractional marketing agency that focuses on storytelling, and helping entrepreneurs, business owners with dynamic visions really create that impact that they desire through compelling content. And that's where we are today, because I know that you, Sherry, your clients are rock stars and they have a huge vision, huge story that they have, and oftentimes not out there.
yeah, they do. You even telling that story, you could have ended it with, so I started a nonprofit to do X. Like that
Hmm.
is their story as well, which is why we're here. And I think I resonate so much with your own story. So I do feel, and I've had these conversations with so many nonprofit CEOs, and I would say maybe more so a founder CEO who was that person who raised their hand and said, I've got to do something about this issue. And so I've heard them say to me, I need, like, I know I'm an expert at this, but I struggle, whether it be time, whether it be, so many different reasons why maybe they're not putting their story or their expertise out in the world. And so the best part of my job is actually meeting nonprofit leaders, working with the most inspirational people on the planet. In my opinion, it's the biggest perk of what I do. But I do simply find that they're not leveraging their own story or their own expertise. And so, talk to me a little bit about why you think maybe, and it's probably, I think, a universal issue, why people maybe hesitate to step into that limelight or say, yeah, I can do that keynote or be that thought leader on LinkedIn, all of those things to say, yep, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm out in front.
I think the main thing, Sherry, really comes down to fear. Fear of what people will think, fear of how do I do this? It feels overwhelming. So it's better for me just to put that on pause, put it on the back burner. It's not a thing that I need to do that is urgent. And so there's a huge delay factor that happens. And what happens when you put something off, we all know it's month after month. And then it's, oh,
Yeah.
wow, it's 2024. It's 2025. I still haven't done that thing because it is uncomfortable. Goes back though to that fear of making a mistake, fear of being called out in your content. Really, the fear sometimes, when I go back to that first thing I said of what will people think, oftentimes we care so much about those close to us, what they will think,
Mm,
family, friends, colleagues. And they may not even pay attention, right? Or you just got to
Right.
develop the thick skin and say, I'm doing this thing. I'm doing this bad boy. It does not matter what people will think. I'm
Yeah.
putting out my authentic story in a compelling way. And I'm not saying everything that's ever happened to me in life, right? But I'm picking out what I like to call threads,
Mm.
storylines that would resonate with your target audience and that are authentic to you at the same time. So fear really puts a huge
Yeah.
uh, barrier for folks getting their story out there. And a lot of folks want to know, well, how do I do it? But I think the real question is how important is this to you? Because when it's important to you, you know you'll figure it out, whether you hire someone,
Yes.
whether you sit down and start to write and start to just do this yourself, which yes, you can, takes time. And speaking of time, I think that's the other thing. I think folks just say, this is just going to take way too much time. I don't have the bandwidth for this. I've got to build up my fundraising, the things that you help them with, Sherry, so wonderfully.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen. And so they just find
Right.
themselves in the same boat time after time. And I've met people who hired me a year or two after we first met, and they're like,
Mm.
I should have just done this
Okay.
before. They
Right.
really
What was I thinking?
we really, and I don't say this because of me putting myself on a pedestal, but they could have hired anyone and probably would have done better. Like at least you would have gotten
Yeah.
started, even if that person wasn't great or that agency wasn't great. You would have put your first step out there, and I just think there's just a huge let me put it on the back burner. This will figure itself
Hmm.
out. And guess what? It does not. It needs you, the leader, to
Yeah.
step up to say this is important and that this is a priority as part of our marketing. And we know that
Yes.
personal stories weaved in with thought leadership, that is what wins on LinkedIn. The dry content, or if
Every
you're trying
time.
to do that chat GPT, guess what? You're going to get the same type of content that everyone else has. And it's not
Yeah.
going to resonate. You have to humanize yourself. And a
Hmm.
lot of leaders are really scared to do so. And they wonder
Yeah.
sometimes too, I'll be honest, Sherry. I didn't mention this, but they're like, will this work? And what if it doesn't work? And all of
Yeah.
those things come into play too. So you got to believe that
Yeah.
you you are powerful and that your story matters
Yes.
and that it is going to make a difference.
Yeah. I think it's a like what I'm taking from what you said is, I do see people say, yeah, everybody knows this. Everybody knows about whatever the issue of that organization is. Um, I don't have anything special to share.
Mm.
I always start with when we're, I'm coaching people how to sit down and have these very strategic investment level conversations, which frankly, even the financial side is also a story.
Mm.
How do you sit down and guide somebody, to a solicitation? And so I always say, a donor is not going to give their best gift if they're confused about anything. If they're confused about
Mm.
what actually you do, what is the problem you're solving? Are you the person I should give my money to? And so much of the first steps in fundraising even is educating our donors. And what a wonderful opportunity to do that through story and through personal story and through actually lived experiences and telling that. And I just find oftentimes I'll say things to my clients like, "Hey, I can get a couple LinkedIn posts out of any meeting. I hear something and I go, no, that's
Mm-hmm.
a great LinkedIn
Mm.
post." I said, you can train your ear to say, I wonder if people actually do know this issue. I wonder what my unique angle is that I could share. And so I just think there's an educational, from a fundraising perspective, opportunity that's missed
Mm-hmm.
because we think everybody knows this.
Yeah, I think that's a poor assumption, especially if you're diving into uh, a nonprofit that has developed over time. Their mission has become bigger. They've had more impact. A lot of times we see success stories, but I love the phrase you used of lived experiences because I think that's the part where it connects people to you. And the
Yeah.
fear sometimes, and I go back to that, is leveraging your personal brand to drive the organization's mission. Leveraging your personal brand to drive the organization's mission. That is the missing link for so many organizations. They don't quite see how sharing lived experiences with thought leadership lends itself to things like funding, partnerships, referrals. Guess what? When people get to know you, they trust you more. They trust the
Mm-hmm.
brand more. They feel connected to you. And oftentimes they want to help. So
Right.
there's a lot of missed opportunities when we're not sharing. And again, you don't have to share everything. We definitely don't encourage that. But there are key pieces of why you started this, of your vision, of how your vision changed, of your fundraising goal. Did you meet it? Did you not meet it? Why? Who's impacted? Sharing client stories. There are so many things that people think that they've shared. Well, guess what? Your LinkedIn post, if it's getting good engagement, probably gets more hits than your website.
Yes.
I would say that
Yeah. That's.
for most, hands down. And so
Yeah.
if you're sharing something on your website about a client story, the best thing you can do is also take that client story and post it on LinkedIn. Put some
Mm-hmm.
humanization around it, right? Like humanize it so people really
Yes.
understand the impact you were able to do. And that's how you drive things forward. But there's just a huge missed opportunity when we think people see also every post. They don't. They don't see your website
Right.
sometimes. They don't see updates. They might open your email. They might not. But the real thing is you want to have all of these things working for you. You want to have your website on point. You also want to have your email list on point, and you want to have that LinkedIn content drumming. And here's the beauty, and I practice this and tell my clients to do the same thing. When you're going to a conference, when you're asking for a roundtable, for fundraising, every single person you're touching should be following you on LinkedIn. You should be adding them on LinkedIn. So by
Yes.
the time you get to that table, you get to that conference, you know what? A lot of folks will say, hey, I know you from LinkedIn. Oh, wonderful. Guess what? There's already a built in trust. And so you're
Yes.
already
It's
creating
already
that
warm.
layer. It's already warm. It's not cold. They feel like they know you. Oh, I remember that thing. Or they call you a LinkedIn celebrity. Ha ha, fun, fun. Guess what? This all translates into warmth. And I
Yes.
just think that that's all so underestimated. It's kind of like going back to old school marketing where you would see someone, put things on your car. Remember, they put like these
The flyer
flyers.
in the, yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
on the
It's still on my
windshield.
front
Yeah, it
door.
still happens occasionally, right? Well, I kind of see that as they're creating a touch point. So when you
Yeah.
see their sign down the road, you're like, oh yeah, they were just on my car. Same kind of thing applies to
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and it's a touch point, and you can reach the masses, and you can join groups. You can do all of these things. But if you're not willing to take that first step because you're not sure how, you're doing a disservice not only to yourself, but I will also say to your nonprofit and that big, huge mission that you have, because I know you have it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They do. Bofta, I don't know if you'd agree with my approach, but I have been posting on LinkedIn consistently since the middle of 2019.
Wow.
I took a class. Um, the coach said, Sherry, she made some comment like, Sherry, your clients are not hiding from you. You need to make sure you're not hiding from your clients. So, like,
Mm,
where's your voice? Where's your
mm,
where's your expertise? Where are you?
mm.
And I was like, ooh. Well, I have a referral business. No big deal. Um, but I have been amazed, which is probably why I'm so on my clients of where are you on LinkedIn. I've been amazed um, how every conversation, everybody who I get on the phone with, they say, I saw this one thing on LinkedIn you post,
Hmm.
and I can't find it. And there was this one thing you said. And so to me, that is like the biggest, like, oh, yes, it's working.
It's working.
But my approach
Yep.
that I'm curious to know, like, I from day one have not looked at the views. I don't get hopped up on like, oh, I only had 400 views today versus 2,000. I just have not paid close attention to that simply because to me, the proof that's in the pudding is the conversation that I'm having with so many people who reach out to me and say something very specific or quote me, or I printed it out and put it on the wall. I mean, that's bonkers to me. But
Mm.
um, so I think like sometimes LinkedIn, maybe specifically, feels like we are talking into the void. But I am with you on it keeps the It keeps some warmth in a relationship that, if you haven't talked to somebody in a while. And that's why I encourage my clients. I say, are you connected with every single one of your funders, every single decision maker, every single donor? Because it is a way to keep that donor experience warm when you are overwhelmed and when you do have so many, clients, if you will, or donors to keep up with. Do you feel like people really, like the metrics or the analytics keep people from kind of saying, is this going to work? That kind of thing?
I don't know if it keeps them. I don't know if the metrics and analytics keeps them. I do think some people tend to get hung up more on metrics and analytics, especially when we're starting. And I agree with your approach. I think what the best avenue you can take is to post consistently, and kudos to you for doing so, especially during COVID, through everything, keeping that consistency. Because I think that the consistency is key, like anything else, like working out, like anything else we're putting out there and trying to improve on. You've got to be consistent. And I think what the metrics and analytics, sometimes it's cool to see, oh, who's looking at my stuff? So if maybe you're targeting someone, you can say, oh, no, wow, they're kind of checking me out. Very cool. But I think what the most powerful thing, the most powerful avenue folks can take is to leverage it the way you're doing it, doing the work versus overanalyzing these metrics, because algorithms on LinkedIn also change. They used to really promote video heavily. Now, not so much, more so written content. And I'm sure in a year or 6 months, it might change. And we're shooting this in July of 2023. So look, it may change by October. The best thing you can do is pay attention to what people are saying to you on that call, why they reached out, how they reached out.
Yes.
So that way you also know, am I reaching my target audience? So are people coming to me for something that I don't do? Ooh, maybe I need to switch up my messaging. That's a really big indicator. Are people coming to me and asking for something that I no longer do? That means I'm actually not providing a service, but they still believe that old messaging. So I've got to go harder on my newer messaging, right? On current messaging. And I think that's how you start to also understand your strengths and weaknesses in your messaging and in what you're saying, because you're actually seeing who's coming through your door, who's coming through your DM, who's coming through your website. And so the best thing you can do is make sure that target audience is connected to you. And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're adding new eyeballs. So you can't keep saying the same thing to the same audience. You've got to be bringing on new folks. And sometimes it's beneficial too, depending on your industry, to take the same post you just posted and post it in a group with your target audience. My whole thing about LinkedIn is I just want people to know who I am. Because I think if people know who you are, everything else comes to you. Meaning they start to see your power. They start to see your visibility. They start to see your message. So I just want you to know who I am and what I do, because you're more likely to get referrals, partnerships, keep your current clients. Who would talk about that, right? Keep those current clients because they see what you're doing for others. They see how you're putting yourself out there. And let's be honest, a lot of people want to be aligned with a thought leader. They want to know that they have a thought leader as their coach, as their this, as their, right? So you posting is also showing up fully for your current client base, your current donor base. It's saying, I'm also putting myself out there. You should be proud that you're funding this organization, right? Because I'm showing you the results of our work, and I'm tooting our horn. So all you have to do is share this post, right? And they get to say, I'm proud to be part of this mission. You're making it easier for people to celebrate you, especially in the nonprofit world, I got to say.
So Bofta, someone's hearing this, they're a leader of an organization. They're like, okay, this is my sign. Like, I've been thinking about doing this for years. In so many of my clients' cases, it's like they have boomed these last few years during COVID. Like their mission has never been more important. There's never been a better time for them to get their voice out and heard and their story told. There's an issue. I'm going to call it an issue. It's actually a panel I'm on this afternoon about staffing in nonprofits, to where everybody's short-staffed and all the things, but there's always there's the marketing side of the house and the fundraising side of the house, and sometimes that marketing is under the umbrella of the fundraising, and I'm a believer in having those two separate because we need both of them strong and both of them running and having strong leadership in both sides of the house. Talk to me about how you work with people, or I should say, maybe what would be an ideal situation so that this rolls out well and that it isn't let's just try it a little bit, but we really need to put our feet, on solid ground, design this out, design, everything that the fractional
marketing
team
agency.
does.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about that issue that I see maybe, and how you come alongside people and really help them make sure that there is consistency and they have a team, whether they have a team, maybe you're partnering with them, or gosh, they could just hire you and not have to worry about that.
Yeah. So, right. It depends if you have a team. It depends if you're looking for, straight consulting, or let's assume that, LinkedIn, that's a piece of what our marketing agency does. So let's just tap into that. So a lot of
Yeah.
folks will say, we also definitely need messaging properly for our presentation decks, for these funding conversations we're having at big roundtables. We need a solid deck with proper messaging, showing our client case studies, all of these things. So we do a whole suite of things, and we'll share, of course, our website with you guys through this podcast in the comments. But for the purpose of LinkedIn, let's just go through this for a second. The one thing I always tell people is they feel like ghostwriting is out of reach, meaning ghostwriting is something that only a select group has access to. What my agency has done is made that accessible to more of the masses. So you are assigned a copywriter. Every single client has a copywriter attached to them, a seasoned copywriter. What that means is the questions they have about story extraction, how to extract those golden threads out of you, how to weave that into what you're doing, research into your industry. All of that is happening without you having to be, let's say, in the thick of it, doing all that legwork for us. Our seasoned copywriter is doing that for you. You meet with them so they know what's coming up. Oh my goodness, you're speaking next month. Where? You have a photo of this? Great. Let's plug it in here. So you're getting that real support that otherwise I think folks thought, well, someone's going to be writing this for me. How do I know they're going to match my tone? Well, guess what?
Right.
You're going to be able to review that content. You're not posting anything you don't think is accurate and authentic. So what you do have is a huge time saver, because you're meeting with them once, twice a month. They're getting what they need and then emailing you, hey, here's the finished, completed post for the entire month. How beautiful is that? So we discovered a system where, it's huge because it saves you time. It's the most effective way we found, and stays authentic, because we know you are not the same as the next person. We also know that you're not the same as your competition, and we want to make sure you stand out. How do we make you stand out? By humanizing you, but also making sure that your thought leadership and expertise is still shining through the content, because it's not Facebook, and we're not about that, where you're just showing your dinner and what you ate, and great, you went somewhere for the weekend.
Your cat.
I love all that, right? Let's admit, some of us stay up and we look at that stuff, right? For a little bit, Sherry, okay? But LinkedIn is different, and we are working to help you drive awareness to the impact of your mission, your organization, and revenue, because it makes it warmer to sell. It makes it warmer to have the conversation. It makes it warmer to receive and have those partnerships sent to you. All of those things, because people have gotten to know you. And so if you think of it like that, then it's a no-brainer for most. And so that's an example of the LinkedIn package that we have for both nonprofits and for-profits as well. And so the success we've seen with that is, maybe they had a little bit of engagement before, but now, not only, I will say this, a byproduct is the confidence of the leader who we're working with. That's huge. The confidence that they have gained by just seeing their content shine and be so well received, but also the expansion. So we've seen people in the comments will say, oh my goodness, you need to bring this program to Phoenix. And so you're starting
Yeah.
to see this interest that you did not have before. That
Yeah.
interest leads to revenue when done the right way. We're going to encourage you to follow up with that comment.
Mhm.
Does it take time? Yes, but sometimes, you know what? We've seen clients where, 30 days, 60 days, and they're seeing the power and the impact of being
Mhm.
visible. And they were the ones who were most on the fence. Took eight
Yeah.
months, took 8 months to make a decision.
They
and
were
then,
sitting right
and
there.
they're sitting right there. Now they're seeing it and they're like, oh my goodness, now I get it. I get it that I could not have probably done this on my own in an
Mhm.
effective and efficient manner. It would have just not relayed the same to the audience. It would not have had the same impact.
And there's also just that added benefit of, like, I have this with my coaching too. Um, it's accountability. Like, if
Yeah,
we want to do
yeah,
this,
yeah,
it has to be in a rhythm. We have to be consistent. And it's like, oh no, I owe both this team back, those edits.
yeah,
If we're going to do this, let's all link arms and do this.
yeah.
That's why I value a coach. I want the accountability.
Exactly.
My best clients desire accountability to say, oh no, we meet with Sherry the last Tuesday of the
Hmm.
month, and I better have met with those 5 donors that we talked about last month. And I better have that ready. And that's just the
They're
consistency
go-getters.
element.
Yeah, they're go-getters. I mean, they have
Go
a huge,
getters.
huge mission that they have, and a legacy that they want to leave behind. And I think all of
Yeah.
us, at the end of the day, including myself, we have to be able to look back when we are 80 or 90 and look back and just say, did we do it? Did we go for it? Did we
Mhm.
go all out, or did we play small? And go back to how
Oh,
I started this whole thing, right? I did not want to.
do you do keynotes,
I
Bofta?
do. I do. I know.
You're giving us one
And
today.
I know it, right? I know it. But let me say this too, Sherry. For the folks who
Yeah.
are like, I want to do this myself, I think it's
Mhm.
important that we share that too. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I always love when someone says, well, look, if I don't work with you, how do I do this? So can I share that with
Yeah.
your audience, Sherry?
Yes.
Would that be
Yes.
cool?
Please.
So here's the
Please.
one thing, create a plan. And I want you to think of the plan in this way, a commitment. I'm going to commit, and you literally would say this to yourself or write this down. I'm going to commit to posting once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever you're going to commit to. Okay. The other thing I want you to think about is what's most easily accessible to me. So maybe you're someone who has a lot of video in your phone, or maybe you're someone who has a lot of photos in your phone. Maybe you're someone who writes a lot of written notes in your notepad. I want you to think about what comes easiest to you and do that. So,
Yeah.
so I would love to be able to say, yes, just like us, our agency, you're going to have video and you're going to have photos and you're going to have written. I would love to say that, but I know most people do one thing the most. So you want variety, but to start, I would say go with what comes easiest to you. You're a natural writer, write. Video's easiest to you, go on video. No more than a minute for LinkedIn. And then I want you to think about themes for a quarter. So let's say you're focusing on fundraising this quarter, or let's say you're focusing on a new service line. Maybe you're focusing on expanding to the West Coast. I want you to think of a
Yeah.
theme and run with that theme for the quarter. Talk about it, challenges, what you've learned.
Love that.
Just go with the theme. And then LinkedIn allows you to schedule. There's actually a little scheduling icon that they added maybe, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And
Hallelujah. They added
and
that.
hallelujah, they added that. Right, exactly. Praise the LinkedIn folks for doing that, right? All praise given. And so schedule it and schedule it with that little icon. So that gives someone out there that's what you can do, you by yourself or with your team internally. But there's someone who's got to say, I'm going to hold you accountable to this plan.
Yeah.
Now, some of you will get off this listening to the podcast and you'll say, I think we could maybe do that. And I'm going to say to you, go for it. Go
Yeah.
for it and try it. And then there's others who will say, that feels like a lot of work. That also feels like we don't have the bandwidth to do that. And then I would say, you probably want to hire out
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is a
That's
lot of
good.
work. Yeah.
It is a lot of work. And I feel like once you start, like, we've talked about consistency, but I mean, don't start if you aren't able to commit to the consistency. I'm a big, like, I will write my posts a quarter out. Right now I'm writing Q4 posts. Because I know that if I got to sit down in a quiet room and do just write, get it all pulled together so I can just pull it and post it. That is what works for me. So I've just over the years have realized if it's not written, in my case, a quarter out, uh, like it's hard for me to be consistent.
It's hard
That's
for
my
any
little
of us. I think it's hard for any of us unless
yeah,
it's written out in advance.
yeah,
It kind of depends on the person. Some people are like, I can write every day. Well,
yes.
good on you, but it's
Go
very rare.
nuts.
Yeah, but it's rare. That's
Yeah.
rare.
Okay, so we've talked story the whole time. Give me a success story. Give me like, and as a result, this is what's happening in leaders' lives. I'd love to just hear some of those tangible wins that your clients are getting.
hmm So, I mentioned the confidence. So that's kind of I guess not as tangible, but the real thing is that we've seen revenue uh, triple as a result
Wow.
of the brand visibility. They work with us for at least a year, most of our clients. And when we work with them, I mean, we're all in, meaning we're
Mhm.
helping them see some of the gaps. And so we'll look at their website, we'll see if it aligns with what we're saying, of course, on LinkedIn or their presentation deck and capability statements. We're helping them see their brand more clearly to make sure it's standing out against the competition. We're also extracting those stories, like I mentioned, so that they stand out. We've seen engagement definitely, especially in the nonprofit world. The dynamic stories are insane.
Yeah.
How they started and why they started their mission, and we've seen that the engagement has skyrocketed more than 60% easily. And I'm being, kind of cautious here. Uh,
Yeah.
and I say 60% because a lot of them didn't have much going on in truthfulness, right? They didn't,
Yeah.
full transparency, they didn't have much branding going on at all. So
Yeah.
once we started to tap into those who were interested, they're like, wow, this person is doing it. We had no idea. And
Hmm.
so we're also going to, encourage the leaders to engage with people on their post and of course with their target audience as well. So going on to posts of others. And so, yeah, engagement typically 60% or higher from the time we started working with them. I can easily say that. And again, I'm being even cautious, right?
Yes.
Um, Brand partnerships or deals, the prospects,
Mm.
they are coming through like they've never seen before from a social media platform. And when our clients have deals, they're not for nothing against IG, but it's not for a $30 product for your
Right.
home, right? Right. And I love those products, okay? But it's not for
Yeah.
that. It's not for that. We're talking about 6 and 7 figure deals. So prospects coming through of high caliber of the caliber that they are seeking and have been seeking for
Hmm.
years now coming through the door. Huge win. We've also seen the idea of, wow, when someone meets me, they already know me. So there's that leadership, that thought leadership in their niche and industry that they never had before, or that they had at a very limited scope. And
Hmm.
so all of those three things, I think, are the tangibles. And those have all led to what I mentioned, like example of revenue. Because when your messaging is, I like the word tight, when your messaging is tight, folks either want to work with you or they don't. That's
Yeah. It's
it.
clear.
It's very clear. It's very clear. If someone's not about storytelling and understanding the power of the written word, we're probably not. We could be cool, but we're not going to be and we're not going to be working together. You know what I'm saying? It's just not going to be. We're not going to be in alignment, and
Yeah.
so that alignment with their messaging and weaving it into facts about their industry and making sure that they're coming across and being seen as on the cusp of knowing what's happening next. And that's why I go back to having that one-on-one copywriter. Yeah,
Yes.
you are telling that copywriter, like, these are things that are coming up in the industry. We need to be talking about these things on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
And our copywriter runs with it. And then, of course, make sure that we have during our review period goes back to that individual. We've had a nonprofit leader who's in the STEM world. Let's call her Samantha for this example. She had very little personal branding at the start of the year, started working with us after kind of putting this on the fence for a while, started working with us. Her board was not even quite sold, to be honest, on working with
Mm,
us because they
mm,
weren't used to someone kind of taking over their
right.
marketing like in this capacity. And they always wanted to know, will this work? Will this work? And the only way you're going to know if marketing works is if you play in it. You
Yes.
got to go for it. You have to play in it. Marketing is experimental in a sense. And so you have to play in it with what's working. Okay, polls aren't working with your audience. Got to try something else, but you've got to be in it. You've got to be playing in it. And so we worked with her. Everything came clear for her. She understood the power of weaving in why she's doing this, making sure that message is really understood, particularly STEM for diverse young girls, for young women of color, and really helping those young women understand the power of the arts and STEM and why this is important to bring this to other cities across the United States. And weaving that story along with her dance background, her STEM background, and just pulling all of these threads together, making sure that there's photos, if there's photos that can align with it. We also do custom graphics. We do the video editing. So she just has to show up on those calls. So
Yeah.
what a relief for her that she doesn't have
Yes.
to worry about all of the back end things. That's our job. That's our job. And
Yeah.
my background in journalism affords me the ability to understand both video and written form and how they all connect. And my team,
Yes.
as an extension of me, understands that as well. And so we've become StoryLede has become like a training ground. And I'm proud of that
Mm,
for a lot of writers who have the skill. We just take it up a notch. And
yes.
so, we have an all-female writing team, and we've just found that there's just a huge connection that our team has working with these clients so intimately, Sherry. Just more
Yeah.
intimately than most marketing departments out there. I know that for a fact because people will come to us and say,
Yeah.
what you have is intimate. We're giving you
Mm,
that one-on-one ghostwriter that previously folks thought that's out of pocket for me. That's for celebrities. That's for the big dogs.
yeah.
We're not there yet. Nope,
Yeah.
nope, nope. You are there. We want to give you access to great writers.
Yeah. Lean into it.
Lean into it.
Yeah. And I know Samantha has taken uh, the content and like like even in my feed, her work is there, and I know she's had funders reach out
Yep.
because of it. They see her differently. They say,
They
oh,
see her
yeah,
differently.
yeah, I did see you there. I would love to do a quick virtual coffee. So I see the results of that work, which is exciting.
And I even mentioned that some of them are getting, like Samantha, speaking engagements, folks interested in having them, you know, come to their
Yes.
stage. And these are opportunities that they did not
Yeah.
quite see coming into the fold so quickly.
I also feel like, and I can only say this for me, and I see it especially like for Samantha, like there are like when my presence on LinkedIn got stronger, it was my shift from me reaching out to people reaching out to me. There was
Right.
a shift in dynamic, and so I see that too, where my clients aren't the ones then always chasing the funder or the speaking engagement or
Yeah.
the whatever it is. Like there's actually an inward pipeline, whatever that would be called,
Yes.
coming
Yes.
coming to them,
Yes.
which
You
is
are
critical.
attracting and you are attracting more of what you want, and that's
Yeah.
coming more easily to you. A lot of people have affirmations out there, right? Like attract this and attract that. Part of that, though, is you have to put yourself out there in a way that's
Mhm.
going to resonate with people. And when you stand out and feel confident and are sharing the way you're sharing, I mean, I have a post that is very personal to me that I have gone around in my brain about this post, and I thought to myself, "Oh my God, is it too personal?" But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it on Monday because it's so personal to me, but yet it's so important also to the business community. And so just tying
Yes.
that all together, I was even thinking, and I do this for a living, like, is it too much? But oftentimes when
Yeah.
we're so real, we attract people to say, oh my God, I want to work with this person because they're so real, and so true to themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that is such a good point, Sherry. There is such a huge difference in always seeking versus attracting and having
Yeah.
people come through your door. And it's a beautiful feeling too, because then you feel like, wow, things are really, they're working for me. I just had someone reach out to have a call related to interview me for something related to media that I never sought out. And I'm like, wow. And it's a celebrity host, like celebrity
Wow.
host. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. The producer just reached out. Did I even think about this? No. But I
Right.
got the email, not even a DM. It was someone on her research team who found me. I don't know what's going to happen with this thing. I have a call with them
Right.
set up. But cool that whatever I'm putting out there caught the attention of someone to someone,
Yeah.
and who knows, I could end up on this thing. And so that's the power of being, and I loved what you are doing, consistently visible. That is the
Yeah.
power of being consistently visible, is just making sure that you do your part and the rest will come.
Yeah. That's what I want for my clients. I say post-COVID and frankly during COVID, it's never been more important
Yep.
for clients to tell their story, or my clients tell their story, because for us, there's never been a time when we leaned on nonprofits more. Like we have needed them desperately, locally, statewide, nationally, internationally these last few years, and they're so deserving of being attractive,
Yeah.
and having us reach out and say, hey, wait, you said something and that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Bofta, where can people find you if they hear this and say, like, I've got to talk to this amazing woman?
So you can definitely hop on our website, take a look, StoryLede.com, and that's spelled LEDE. Why we spelled that way is on our homepage. So take a look at our little story there. And the other easy way is just to DM me on LinkedIn. I do see the DMs, or someone on my team will flag me and just say that you heard me on this podcast. I've worked with Sherry's clients. I love helping nonprofits because you all have such powerful visions, and you rock with it. You take it to the next level, and you have this amazing ability to bring people into the vision, even if they have no idea the depths of the impact. Just the surface level impact brings people in. And so I am in awe of nonprofits and just the amount of work that goes into it and the dedication and commitment. And so cheers and kudos to everyone out there working on your nonprofits day in and day out. I just went on a tangent, didn't I, there? Yeah, so LinkedIn and the website, probably. I like to keep things easy. I know.
Yeah,
I
I
like
love
to
it.
keep things easy. But I meant that too. I just think what y'all are doing is really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And so I would love to learn more about what you all are doing and see if there's a way that we can provide any fractional marketing, if that's something that you do feel like you need. And if nothing else, I hope people got inspiration. Sometimes
Yes.
you just walk away with the podcast inspired, like, you know what, I got to do this. And I hope
Yeah.
that you're inspired. I hope you're inspired.
That's what you do. You inspire.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bofta. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Sherry.
Thanks for listening to the Business Behind Fundraising podcast. Tune in weekly, and you'll get seriously good at fully funding your organization's big vision year after year. Yes, even your overhead. Visit www.quamtaylor.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts.